It took me 8 years to learn everything about building an agency, and I'm going to be giving everything to you in under 30 minutes. My name is Jayde, and I went from losing my house at 19 to building and selling an agency last year at the age of 24, and I'm currently building another agency to over $100,000 per month. So these are a bunch of things that I wish I knew when I started my agency, because quite frankly, it would have saved me a ton of time and years that you're literally going to learn in under 30 minutes. This is a video I wish I had. And even if you currently have an offer and you're scaling pretty aggressively, I'm telling you there are tons of things you're going to take away from this that is going to be gold for you. Now, to be honest with you, most of everything starts with mindset. And before you click off, just hear me out. A lot of people have issues in their business and they don't realize that they actually don't have a business problem. They have a personal problem that is manifesting in their business. There is nothing more important than getting your mindset right, because a lot of those things are going to come out in your business without you realizing. You need to manage your emotions, which is the number one thing. You can't get upset with employees and you can't get upset with clients. That is how you're going to maintain your gravity within the business. Now, the second thing of your mindset that you have to master is stress. You have to be able to manage stress, because I've had periods of time where almost within the span of 24 hours, I lost over 60% of my clients because we just didn't have the right systems in place and we didn't see it coming. So imagine the financial pressure I had, knowing that I'm supporting my family, I'm living alone, and I have tons and tons of employees to work with. So that kind of pressure puts you in a situation where you have to be able to manage it. You cannot crumble because you literally can't afford to. And the best way to do that I taught myself is to consistently do hard things. I picked up running even though I didn't want to do it. I went to gym daily. I did tons of difficult challenges that actually trained me into thinking that work was actually easy. And that's an important part of mindset that every entrepreneur that takes on this business model needs to know. Now, once you've mastered your mindset, you can move on to the main step, which is number 2, of finding your niche and your offer. Now, even if you already have an offer, hear me out. You need to pick the correct niche and the correct offer. I say this time and time again to my students, but you cannot be a jack of all trades and a master of none. You pick that specific niche so that you can become a master of it. And once you've reached that point, you can then focus on your offer. And this is the other thing people get wrong. Everyone thinks that they have to do the same kind of offer. Everyone is going for advertising. Everyone is going for similar things. But there's a ton of different offers that you could offer depending on your niche. So take me, for example. I focus on the hemp and cannabis niche. And the reason I did that is because I knew they were restricted from advertising. So I found a side alley that I could enter and found their pain points. And that was the key. Find your customers' pain points or your niche's pain points and find a service that delivers on that. So real estate agents, they really need a ton of leads. That's a pain point. So you can do lead generation. For me, it was the fact that they couldn't advertise. So the best way for them to get revenue was email marketing. And that's what I prioritized in my agency and how I was able to scale it. You find one pain point, you double down, you find a skill that serves that pain point, and you use that to your benefit. The other thing that I would actually recommend is staying away from a done for you offer. Done with you is the new gold mine. It requires way less work from you and you can charge way more because you're coming from an expert standpoint. So you're essentially just offering a complete consulting offer, but with your expertise in place. Now, that was the single most important thing that I ever did for my agency and how we were able to scale so much. But the second thing that I learned in this journey that changed my life forever was leverage. This is where I see most people make the most amount of mistakes, and I was making this mistake for years. I started getting income, and because of that, I was trying to hold it all. I was trying to be as lean as possible and I was trying to be as profitable as possible. But what that meant for me is that I was doing all of the work myself, even though I didn't necessarily have the capacity. So I was working 16-hour days, which no one should be doing, by the way. And with those hours, the reason is because I was having to deliver for clients and I was having to constantly focus on sales to get new ones. So what changed the game for me was leverage. And if you're in a position where you're just starting out, listen very carefully. You at no point want to be a glorified contractor. You never want to fulfill the offer yourself. You want to find people that are better than you and you want to get them to deliver the service for you. Because if you think about it, you're going to have way more time to do outreach, and you're also going to have someone who understands the business model way better or the service offering way better. Utilize their skills and get better results for your clients, because that's the number one thing you should be focusing on once you actually have them. And if you're just starting out and you just don't have the capacity to bring someone on, I would rethink that. You can use contractor arbitrage, which essentially means that you're going to reach out to a bunch of contractors that fulfill the service that you offer, whether that is video editing, whether it's advertising, whether it's email marketing. You're going to post some job applications on LinkedIn, on Fiverr, on Upwork, wherever it is. You're going to find a ton of people that can actually fulfill it. And you're going to say to them blatantly, you're going to say, look, I'm not going to pay you upfront yet. Once I close a client, I'm going to need you to come in and fulfill the service for them. And what you do is you get your client to pay upfront, and you pay your contractor at the end of the month. So what's going to happen is you have really healthy cash flow. So your client is going to pay you, and then 30 days pass, and then you're going to pay your contractor, and you're going to take a portion of that profit. And by that time, your client's going to be paying the next month's retainer anyway. And that's how you create a profitable business from the get-go, even if you're starting out. The second thing that you need to leverage is sales. You, again, don't want to focus entirely on taking calls because that's going to restrict you. But find a closer that will work on commission. Give them 50% commission on everything you close so that they're comfortable not getting a salary or a base fee. And just simply move forward with them that way. That way you have someone to fulfill services essentially for free, and you also have someone who's closing and is more dedicated to closing because they earn a percentage of income, which means they're going to be more incentivized to do better. And now that you have leverage, it's time to focus on the fourth lesson that taught me so much, which is that you need to spend 80% of your effort and time on outreach. Now, trust me, I know how tempting it is to do the thing that you love, which is probably the service that you're delivering. I know a ton of agency owners that get it completely wrong. They focus entirely on the fulfillment when they should be focusing 80% of their time to the thing that actually moves the needle and the growth of the agency. Otherwise, you're never going to make progress. What you should be doing is putting 80% of your time into sales. What I did mistakenly in the beginning, which restricted a lot of my growth, and I stayed at $10,000 per month for a long time, is because I was focused on the delivery and I just simply got someone to do sales. Whereas I should have flipped it around. I should have focused in on sales, figured out what worked, and focused on outreach the entire time. And what that looks like is you need to be sending DMs constantly. You need to be sending cold emails. You need to be running new ad creatives. You need to be figuring out what moves the needle for you. Take a look and scale that. The mistake that a lot of people make in this area is, yes, they're spending their time on it, but they're spending time on the wrong things, which is why you need to pay attention to where your industry lives, where your clients get the most amount of feedback, and how you can reach them the best. So in our case, a lot of our clients were sitting, or potential clients were sitting on Facebook because they were an older generation. So it took us a long time to get to the point of running ads because we wanted to stay profitable. But once we started taking a portion of the sales to putting to the ads, that's where we saw the most amount of growth. Outreach is the main thing that is going to scale your business. This is how everyone goes from 0 to 100 as quickly as possible. This is going to be the difference of you staying at 10K per month to going to 50K plus per month with ease. It is literally just focusing on what's working and figuring out where your customers actually live. For our case, it was an older generation in the cannabis niche. So we found that reaching out to them on Facebook was the best thing that we could do. We found their emails, cold email worked incredibly well, and then we eventually switched over to focusing entirely on ads. The reason being is because they were on Facebook anyway, and no one else was running ads to them because no one else was focusing on the niche. So it put us in a great position of getting tons of inbound leads and doubling our ad spend because we knew it was working. And it might seem daunting to put money towards ads or putting money towards these tools and automations, especially if you want to stay lean, but I promise you it'll be the biggest game changer for you. This ties into the leverage point, and this is where 80% of your time needs to come from. You need to be constantly testing different ad scripts, different ad creatives, different outreach methods, changing up scripts. That's where your time needs to go to. And now that you're going to be focusing on those things, the next most important lesson that I learned was to track my finances. I really became complacent in the beginning because I was a 20-year-old making $10,000 per month in South Africa. I'd never seen money like that before, especially going from losing our house. So I started spending recklessly, and before I realized that I was spending way more than I was making, but I was being tricked into thinking that I wasn't because I was spending on the business. But I was spending on tools that we didn't need. I was overspending on leads. I was overspending on ads that weren't working. And eventually, when I looked at the amount that we were making, I noticed that I wasn't even paying myself anything. So tracking your finances, the single most important thing that you can possibly do. It doesn't matter at what point in your business you are. If you're at 50K per month, if you're at 100K per month, wherever it is, you need to track your finances, because before you know it, again, you're going to become a glorified contractor. You're going to be making a lot, but you're also going to be spending too much. You're going to be making the same as the construction worker across the road. And that's not what you want. You want freedom, and the only way to achieve that freedom is to really meticulously track your finances. I still do this to this day, and my number one rule is I will never spend more than I make in a month. So I track as meticulously as possible. And the biggest reason why I'm making such a point out of this is because I've been in that position where I get great income from clients, and then before I know it, I scale too quickly and realize that I am putting the agency at a loss month over month because I've hired too many people that I can't maintain. Then we lose clients, and before you know it, you're making way less than what you're spending on your employees. And that's not a position you want to be in. And one of the things that's going to make sure that you keep everything in track, which is the next most important lesson, is systems. I cannot reiterate this enough. Systems are the thing that carry and drive your agency. I lacked systems for the longest time. I kept things as minimal and as bare as possible, and it put me in a really bad position because once we started to scale, I had the added pressure because everything was starting to break. I brought on more employees, but I never knew how to manage my first one. So a lot of employees were leaving, a lot of them were generating terrible results. And it's because I had a hiring problem, and it's because I never used systems to manage those small things that I was doing. The same thing happened. We brought on a lot of clients, but I never learned how to retain those first few that I had. I never had systems in place, so things started to break at scale. And then we had a bigger issue of now, yes, we have more clients, but we have more unhappy clients. And that's not a position you want to be in either. Another thing is just project management. Suddenly, my team couldn't manage the amount of work on their plate, even though it wasn't that much. And it's because I never gave them the systems to deal with it. So you really have to stand back, make sure that from the beginning you're fine-tuning every process and using systems. So if you're running sales, make sure that you have a system to track exactly what is happening in your business, what outreach is working best, who do you have doing the sales, how many calls are you getting, what ads are performing best so you can turn off the others. There's a system for that. The second thing is when you're doing fulfillment of the actual service delivery, you need a system to keep track of everything that's in progress, to communicate with the clients. And that's the other thing, you need a client system. How are you making sure that they're keeping track of, that they are being communicated with, that they're seeing what's being done? You need a system for every little thing. And long term, this is going to save you, because at some point in your business, you're going to stagnate. And the thing that's going to make the difference between making 30K per month versus 80K per month is going to be a systems problem. Now, once you have systems in place, the other most important thing that you can do for yourself is you need to get good at people skills. I cannot explain how much this changed my business. In the beginning of my agency, I was losing people left, right, and center, and I also was losing a lot of clients. And I didn't realize that a major reason for that is because I was not good with people. I needed to be diplomatic, and I needed to understand how people functioned without getting emotional. And I was carrying a lot of emotion into business. I thought that I had to be a tyrant to get what I needed out of people, and that was never the case. It turns out that when you build a good culture and when you understand people one-on-one, like your clients, like your employees, everyone's going to feel heard and they're going to feel more comfortable delivering great results for you. And clients are going to be way happier because they can sense the kind of culture you have, even if you don't think so. In the beginning, I still owe a lot of apologies to some of my early employees because I didn't treat them well and I didn't manage them well either. So a lot of the blame would fall on them, but at the end of the day, I'm the one managing them. I'm the one who put those systems in place. So if they're not working, it comes down to me. And that's something you have to stand back as a business owner, understand that people are people. You need to know how to manage and deal with them. Now, the last thing, which is the most important point that I'm going to make in this whole video, is that retention is the single most important driving factor for your revenue. Everyone focuses on how to get clients, how to get leads, how to do this, how to get more videos out there, how to get the best performing ads. But none of that matters if you cannot even retain the people that you win. So, we were at a position again where we got tons of clients. In one single month, we got about 8 new clients, each paying about 3K per month. So we were super over the moon about that because we reached a new revenue point. And in the next month or so, we reached a massive problem where half of of them were dropping off, and we were getting great results for them. That's what we couldn't understand. And the biggest takeaway I have that I constantly teach my employees as well is it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do, if you are not communicating enough with your clients, they don't care. It's as simple as that. You need to retain clients, and it comes to obviously delivering a good service, which is why you need to use leverage and get good people in. But the other most important thing that no one talks about is communication. A client will never know how much work you're actually doing for them or how good you are at what you do unless you tell them. So think about it. You guys might see behind the scenes how much you're doing, but we've had so many cases where our biggest clients that we've got almost 300 times ROI for almost left because we were not telling them how much we were actually doing. So they have the misperception that it's easy work, number one. And number two, they have the misperception that we're not doing anything at all. So they might see their revenue going up, but so many companies don't care about that. They need that communication. They need a little bit of babying. And that's why you need to put a process in place to manage that. So something we did is we communicated every single Monday, every single Wednesday, and every single Friday. Monday, we would send a report. Wednesday, we would do a check-in, and Friday, we would do a progress update. So they constantly knew everything that was going on. And on top of that, we realized that doing one call a month was making them very uncomfortable. Instead, we moved it to a call every bi-weekly. And that changed our retention from an average of 3 months to over 2-year retention with most of our clients. And that is the number one thing you need to take with your agency. Don't just focus on acquiring customers, focus on keeping them. So that pretty much summarizes all of the lessons that I learned during my 8-year journey that would have changed my life completely from a way earlier on if I just had someone speaking to me the way that I'm speaking to you right now. Now, if you want to learn how to build an agency and you want to get ahead with these lessons in place without trying to figure it out yourself, that is exactly why I mentor people and I teach them how to build their agency or how to scale their coaching offer so that you don't have to figure it out and you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Instead, you get a blueprint, you get all my plug and plays, and you get my one-on-one mentorship. So I'm not throwing you into a course like everyone else. It's actually going to be one-on-one time with me. Now go down below and see if you're a good fit, because I don't work with just anyone. It's actually a big risk for me because I have other businesses that I focus on. This is just something that I am passionate about and I take on a select few people. It's not free and it's not cheap, but go down below if you think that's you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.